You can define me any way you want. But the way I define myself is that I'm helping people. The way that I define myself is it's not a soft skill, it's a missing skill in our culture right now. We live in a world right now that is so divided politically, so divided by humans. And my reason to do what I do is to bring people together because we have more in common than we don't.
Welcome to the Kindness Podcast. I'm Nicole Phillips. Today's guest is Bobby Hoffman, and Bobby is a Michigan fixture who spent 2 decades working as a public relations manager at a performing arts center. Then he founded his own company, which helps leaders and teams communicate under pressure. So those things are both all about kindness, right? But Bobby is here because of something else. He's here because of something he started 17 years ago. And I am going to let him tell you all about it. Welcome, Bobby Hoffman. So great to have you here.
It's so good to see you, Nicole. Thank you so much for having me as a guest. I started Epiphany Now. Uh, in 2009, and basically Epiphany Now is spelled a little bit differently. It's EPIF for pass it forward, ANYNOW, meaning you can have an epiphany right now to do something kind for somebody else, and in turn you're not only making their world better, but I guarantee you are getting a free drug.
That's it, right? We know this from research that the giver, the receiver, the witness, they all experience these 4 feel-good chemicals. So yes, you brought it up. You're like, okay, there's the science behind it, people. Just now you can buy in and relax and let Bobby tell us story after story because you have made an entire career out of kindness, but will you start us at that point 17 years ago? Because there had to have been some sort of an epiphany for you along the way.
Yeah, I think what was happening to me is I was seeing customer service, honestly. I was seeing people that were in the service industry and didn't look happy and didn't look like they were enjoying things. And I was going through a drive-through, and I remember this so clearly. And they didn't say anything other than it'll be $1.90 for a soda. And nothing like no hello, no thank you, just handed. And and I thought, "Oh my gosh, what's going on in that person's life that you can't even say hello," right? And it it didn't make me mad, it kinda made me sad, and I started thinking about that, and fast forward from that, about 2 weeks later, I was in the car on my way home on a Friday night, no plans for Friday night, except laundry and cleaning and what all that, the chores, but I'm on the highway here in East Lansing, Michigan, and it's back-to-back traffic, and a car there was it was going down to 1 lane, and there was space between me and the car in front of me, and this car just zoomed in and almost clipped my front end, and I was, like, shocked, and I said out loud, "Pay attention," and I heard a voice, Nicole, that said, "Well, were you paying attention?" And I don't know about you, but I talked to myself and I was like, "It doesn't matter about me. I'm sitting here, like, they're not paying attention." And I literally had this feeling of like, "I'm gonna ram that car. I have insurance. I'm just gonna ram that car. They should have."
Yes, yes,
And
yes.
and I literally heard that voice again that says, "Were you paying attention?" And I thought about it and I'm like, "Oh my God, why am I in such a hurry? I'm going home to do laundry." Like, who cares if I get home, a minute late or 2 minutes later? And it just sort of hit me, and it really hit me in a big, like, epiphany way, like it was like a lightning bolt, and it was like, "Oh my gosh, if I am this in this space, how many other people are in this space? And what am I gonna do to break that ball of stress?" So I called my guy friends. I was single at the time. I called my guy friends up and I said, "Hey, you doing anything tonight?" They said, "No." So I said, "Come over and bring $20." And they're like, "Why are we gonna bring $20?" And I'm like,
Entry fee to hang out with Bobby. That's what that
"That's
is.
right." So they come over and I tell them what we're gonna do. I said, "We're gonna go out and break balls of stress." I said, "Let's just everyone give out $20 and we could do it any way you want. Like, let's just do it." And so they were like, "No." And I'm like, "Come on, like, I'll pay you back. I'll pay for it. Let's just do it." And so we did it, and we when we were done, they were all like, "Oh my god, that was really fun. Like, that was really something cool." And it made our Friday night, and it was an opportunity for us to do something to break up all of stress, right? And then I had another epiphany, and I was thinking, it's not all about money. It's about time, it's about treasure, it's about, time, treasure, or whatever you can
Your
do to.
talents, whatever
Yeah.
you've got, right?
Right.
Like, let it yeah.
And so, I from there, I was inspired. I'm like, I'm going to invite more friends. I'm going to get more friends together. So we got more friends together. And all of a sudden, Nicole, I started getting emails. I was emailing, and people were saying they were coming. And I was up to more than 100 people coming. So I went to a local venue and I said, can I have, and because I worked in theater, I am used to planning events. And I know that if people say, they're going to come, you get probably 20% of that. So I thought, well, if I get 40 to 50 people, this will be good. But just in case, I went to a local restaurant that was big, and I said, "Hey, can I have a couple of tables, 3 tables, on such and such a date, and can I reserve it?" And she's like, "Well, we don't really do that, but, if you're here early." And I thought, "Okay, well, maybe that's what I'll do." I got home and she called me and she's like, "After you left, I had a wedding that canceled and we have our room available." And she's like, because I told her what I was going to do, she's like, "You can have it. You can have the space for free." So I was like, "Okay, cool." Well, then I thought, well, I got a big space now. Like, I need to invite more people. So I started inviting more people, and the space had a limit of 150 people, and we had 350 RSVPs. So I called the mayor of, this is so strange. Called the mayor of East Lansing, Nicole, and I don't know him. Like, I've never met him before.
You do
And I
now.
called and I asked for him, and I got through. Like, how does that happen, right, Nicole? Everything
Right.
for a reason. I got through. And he got on the phone, and I said, "Hi, this is Bobby Hoffman, and I'm with this organization, and I want you to come speak to us and welcome." I told him what we were doing, and I did that because my mind, I was like, "Oh, if the mayor speaks, they might be okay on the capacity issue."
Ah, right,
In
it's
my
like having the
little
fire
mind,
marshal. Yeah.
right, in my little mind with the fire marshal. And all those things started happening like it was meant to be, like that wedding canceled, I got through the mayor. I mean, how does that happen? 350 people came to our first event in 2009, and it was incredible. It was this huge community. The people that showed up, I thought it was gonna be all my lady friends that are in junior league and, and my couple friends. We had a biker gang show up. I don't know where they got invited, but they showed up. And I've learned so many things throughout this and so many, prejudice that people have, including me. And I was like, oh gosh, what's gonna happen? Like, I was nervous. I'm like, what are they doing? And they're like, hey, buddy, we heard about what you're doing. We want to participate too. And all these people went out and we gave them 100 different ideas of things you could do in the community to make a difference. They all went out and did it. And then they came back and we gave them as many people as wanted to share 2 minutes to come up in front and share their story about what they did. And it was the most amazing experience ever. People were crying, people were excited. Moms went to hospitals and thanked the nurses that helped their preemie baby who's now 22. They went to, and even if the nurses weren't there, they just said, I never had an opportunity to thank you. I never had an opportunity when I was there to thank you. And I just want to thank you. Um, People went to nursing homes. People went to a group of women went to a college dorm and offered to clean up for
Oh,
for frat boys, and
no, thank you.
they were so excited. They were like, "Oh my god." And some were like, "We're moms and we're giving hugs." So we live on a Michigan State University is right near us. So they went on campus and gave hugs out. And that was really popular because a lot of kids were like, "I miss my mom. I miss hugs." There were so many stories. and from there, it just grew. It just grew. It just we people were like, "When's the next one? When's the next one?" And so we had one every year since then. Now in the COVID years, we had to not do it, but we would do, and this is how I met you, Nicole, because we would do interviews with people from across the country that are in the same line of thinking, of making a difference. And I always say we're human, right? We're all in this together. And if we can make it easier for somebody else, then somebody else is going to probably make it easier for me too.
I'm hearing multiple themes. One is that when something takes flight, when it gets its wings, when it gets its epiphany, it takes on its own life. It becomes magnetic to the people around and brings such goodness and love. Do you subscribe to that, Bobby, or is it just
Oh,
that it feels that way to me?
no, 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 100%. I always say I'm not religious, I'm spiritual, and I believe that God works through me, and I just get an idea and say, "Okay, God, let's make this happen." And also, as I've gotten older, I've realized that it may not work out exactly the way I planned. Like, this didn't work out exactly the way I planned. I thought we'd gather, at the most 20 people, it would be fun, and
Yes.
then we'd be over. Who knew that this long we would still be doing it and there'd be such a need? And other communities, we've taken it to Chicago. We've gotten calls from CBS Evening News picked us up and did a story on us. Scott Pelley and Steve Hartman did a
Yeah.
story. It just keeps growing. But no, I had no idea. But I do believe that, like you, something happened where you just feel like you are a communication vehicle, and if I can help another person, then I'm in this to help another person. I think that's really the if somebody asks me what's your purpose, my purpose is to help people.
Right? Yes. I'm here to bring goodness and healing to the world. That's what I say. In whatever way that is, however I can do that on that particular day, that's gonna be the plan, right? And for me, a lot of times it's not an act of kindness, it's a lens through which I look at the world. It's assuming good intent with other people. It's being clear in my communication as best possible and asking, being curious about other people, that sort of thing. And then you get the pushback from people who say, "Well, I mean, kindness is nice, and we need more kindness in this world. Somebody should do that," right? Because no one wants to you don't want to invest in that because kindness is just kind of soft. And you end up with this everybody says they love it, and yet nobody really wants to step into that leadership role, or people saying, "I don't want to financially invest in something that's a one-off because kindness is soft." So, do you push back on that? Do you agree with that? What do you think?
I think it's a bunch of malarkey. I think that people have said, "Oh, you're so Pollyanna," and I I kind of look at them like a dog would look at you. You just turn my head, and I'm like, "Well, if Pollyanna it means that I'm making a difference, then I'm Pollyanna." Like, you can define it any way you want. You can define me any way you want, but the way I define myself is that I'm helping people. The way that I define myself is it's not a soft skill, it's a missing skill in our culture right now. We live in a world right now that is so divided politically, so divided by humans. And my reason to do what I do is to bring people together because we have more in common than we don't. And I don't care if you're Republican or Democrat or independent or black or white or gay or straight or whatever you label yourself. The number one label is you're human. And you have the same needs as everyone else, right? You wanna eat, you wanna love, you wanna drink, you want a good life. And so get rid of all those labels and think about me however you want. If you wanna call me Pollyanna, well, then I'm Pollyanna. But I also know that soft skills and hard skills were developed by the US Army back in the 1960s when they were trying to determine, to give their soldiers an opportunity to learn empathy. And they didn't know what to call it. They were like, well, these are hard skills, like the labor's the hard skill, and this is more of a soft skill because it's not, and that's not what they meant, but that's what developed hard and soft skills. And so I always argue about that. It's not a soft skill. It's actually really sometimes hard to be kind. It is. It's not the easiest thing in the world, especially if somebody's unkind to you, right? taking a moment and saying, "I have no idea what's going on in their life right now, and you know what? If I would have lost my mom, if I would have lost or if I just found out I had cancer, I might be really angry right now too. I have no idea."
We have to assume that everyone has something going on in their lives. Maybe it's okay and maybe it's not, but we all have a season, right? And so in the midst of that season, um, boy,
Absolutely, and
grace,
I think,
grace upon grace.
yeah, exactly. I mean, there are days that I get up and I'm like, "Ugh, this is a hard day."
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't wanna see anyone, I don't wanna talk to anyone, I don't wanna be nice. And that being, to somebody else, I just wanna hibernate, and that's okay,
Yeah.
you know? We're all
Yeah,
human as
how
well.
do you? Because you've got I mean, let's list off all of the ways in which you show up to bring kindness into this world. So you've got Epiphany Now, you have the Morning Blend produces this weekly segment called Good Neighbors, right? So you're interviewing people all the time. You've got the Michigan State Lottery, is that the other thing that
Yeah.
is happening? Tell me about that.
So I have a morning show called Morning Blend, and I also have, a weekly series called Good Neighbors, which I go out and find people that are making a difference and doing something good and celebrating goodness. And that came about because I was working in the TV. My background is journalism. Before I was recruited into entertainment, my background was as a TV journalist and for years. And when I got recruited, I was at Wharton Center and I said, I've got a great full time job. And they said, could you do something on the side? And I said, I don't want to be a reporter. They're like, what do you want to do? And I said, well, if I could tell good stories, if I could tell stories of people that are making a difference, I would do it. And so we negotiated and we brought that in. But then it just kind of grew from there. And so I was very fortunate where my full-time job allowed me to do some part-time work on the side as long as it didn't interfere. And so that just kind of grew. So we developed Good Neighbors. And then we do something with the Michigan Lottery called Excellence in Education. And we celebrate teachers from across the state of Michigan that have been nominated by their students, by other teachers, by the community who they think are excellent educators. And what I love so much about this is that teachers are huge. They make an impact. They are the ones, and if you talk to most people, they'll say, I had a teacher that really made an impact in my life. So when I get to celebrate them, it's awesome, and teachers don't get enough credit, nor do they don't get enough pay, and in my opinion, I think teachers should be the paid the most.
I love teachers. I love teachers, mainly because I had great teachers, I think, and people who poured into me throughout my life in times when I really needed an adult to pour into me. And I've seen them do that with my own kids and all of it. So yes, I am like, yay, yay, yay for the teachers always. Okay, so you're doing all of these things. This whole career circles around kindness. I am curious if you have any piece of you that's like me. Like, I hate to admit it, like, I love watching Family Guy. Like, I need to sit and watch something just I need to watch just rotten, just bleh, like the worst. I love it so much. Where does the steam come out for you? I mean, or are you just like, nope, this is the water I swim in because I swim in the world of kindness, and sometimes I just need to be kinda crabby.
Oh, I totally get that. Yeah, that exactly, I get it. I'll go for me, it's nature, so I'll go sit in our yard, which is beautiful, or I'll go walk in the woods, um, and I start to, you know I try to focus on the smaller things, like, I'll try to see a leaf that I've never seen, or I'll try to see an insect I've never seen, and that kind of takes me away from whatever I'm cognating about, and so, or I just sometimes just wanna be alone and read. I love to read, so, movies too, like yesterday, Nicole, I just, was having a day, and I was really tired, and I thought in the middle of the day, I thought, "You know what? I'm gonna go take a nap. I am gonna go take a nap," which is so unlike me because I don't like I always am like, "It's a beautiful day. I'm gonna miss out," and I went and took a nap. But as you get older, you listen to your body, you listen to what you want, what your body's saying, and it really makes a difference.
I think it's important that our listeners hear you say, sometimes you want to be alone. Sometimes you don't want to be in the middle of telling the stories of kindness. Sometimes you want to just and need to just bring it to such a small level where you're looking at a leaf and having a thought about that. Because, right? Um, because people who swim in the world of kindness and make that their careers, it can look like those are the people with just the most generous hearts or the most time or the most money or the most whatever. And in my experience, the kindest people I know are not the people who either it comes easy for them or they have all of the time in the world or all of the money in the world. It's the people who are deeply wounded or hurting in some way and are using this as their own kind of medication. Have you seen that in your work?
Percent. I've seen it in myself. I mean, I was a kid who was bullied. I was a kid who didn't have a lot of other friends. You know, I was the fat gay kid, and that was a double whammy. And so I didn't have that. And so I know what it's like to be on the margin, and I know what it's like to not feel that. Fortunately, I had an amazing family who loved me, and an amazing teacher who loved me. And so I realized going through that experience, realized what I was missing out on, and then I thought, I want to give that. I'm in power now to give that. So that sort of motivated me too to do that.
Bobby, thank you for sharing that hard and the vulnerable in your life. I'm sorry you had to go through it. And I thank you for using it as part of your fuel now for other people because, yeah, people can put the Pollyanna label on and think, well, you've never really had anything go on. Of course, it's easy for you to love humans because humans have been good to you, but humans have not always been good to you. And that's important to know about people
Well, I
too.
also, through my leadership training, I also talk about the fact that there's a difference between being nice and kind.
Ah,
And in my opinion, being nice is subsurface. It's just obligatory. Being kind, you can tell somebody in a very kind way, like, "Look, Nicole, this wasn't up to satisfaction, and you didn't do it the right way, and let's work together and make this good. Let's work. I've got your back. I can help you if you want that." And so that's a kind way to talk to somebody, and you can be kind, and you can have authority being kind.
right. It does have some teeth. It's not just rainbows and butterflies and bubblegum and all of that, right? You have a line I love. Kindness changes the room before you ever say a word. Kindness changes the room before you ever say a word. What does that look like when you walk into a tense meeting, when you walk into a tense room? What can that mean for our listeners who have all different types of tension in their life?
Sometimes that means just a smile, right? That sometimes means if you're walking into a meeting and it's gonna be a tense meeting, but you see somebody else smile, that just makes you feel a little bit better. But if you walk into a room and they're all frowning and it's all, you know, you may have done something that really wasn't good, or you made a mistake. But if you walk into a room and somebody smiles, that makes all the difference. And even if that's the leader who's telling you, "Hey, Bobby, hey, Nicole, you didn't meet expectations here, but I got your back." That's true leadership. That's somebody who says, "I've got your back and I'm gonna help you." Because they know that if you look good, they look good. And in another situation, Nicole, when you walk out in the public and somebody smiles at you, that's just that's nice. That just shows that they really are. First of all, it always shows me, I'm like, "Oh, they're happy. They're taking time to do that." Unfortunately, we live in a world where a lot of people are just so into themselves, like, in their mind, that they don't do that. So I always try. say hello. I always try to smile. I always try to make an effort because you never know. The power of a smile is probably one of the most powerful things that everyone has, and everyone has it.
Have you ever heard the study? I think it's from 2008, and it's somewhere in the UK. Do you like how I do details in my life? I'm like, "Meh, it was about 2008. It was, somewhere on the other side of the ocean." Um, and it was about Botox, and originally, researchers had thought that Botox was an antidepressant because they would put it in people's, foreheads, right? They
Maybe
injected it
that's
into.
what's going on.
Right? So they were like, "Oh, okay, well, this must be like people are getting Botox. This is an antidepressant." People would come back and they would report these elevated levels of well-being and mental health. And what they found was it wasn't actually that the drug itself was doing something to the brain. It was that when people went out in the world, they could no longer frown at people. Their natural resting face wasn't a frowny face. And so people will mimic us, whatever face we bring to them. And when we smile at them, generally people will smile back. If we frown at someone, they'll frown back. And so they were seeing that people were now greeting them differently because they were showing up differently. Isn't that interesting?
It's so interesting, and it's so true, right? Like, you walk into a room and people are energetic and happy and having fun, you quickly get into that mood. You quickly get into that energy, or vice versa, you know?
Yeah. 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 We can steal each other's energy in the very best way possible. What haven't I asked you about that you want to tell me about?
I wanna tell all the listeners that wherever you are, you have the ability and the power to make a difference. And even if you don't have any resources, if you're homeless, wherever you are, you have the power to make a difference in somebody else's life. You never know what that is, right? You never know. But I can guarantee you that uh, a smile, a cup of coffee, an act of kindness is the biggest thing that will change somebody's life. And it's like throwing a pebble in a pond. It will skip and it will go and it will spread.
How can people get involved in Epiphany now if they're maybe not in the Michigan area?
Well, you can visit our website, ePIFanyNow.com. And maybe you can put that up there. EPIFanyNow.
Okay, we'll put
Um,
that in the show notes for everybody. .com. Okay.
Um, or you can email me, bobhoffman11@gmail.com, and I can send you a ton of information. I can send you positive reinforcements. I just have a really strong passion to believe that I'm here for a reason. And I believe that I met you for a reason, Nicole, because you get it. You're doing exactly and there's so many people like us around the world. And I think we need to unite, and I think we need to go out there and say, "Hey, look, everyone, this is the new movement, and it's the kindness movement, and we're making a difference."
It's the kindness movement. Yes, I love it. Thank you, Bobby Hoffman, so much for being with me today. Thank you for the work that you're doing in the world. I appreciate you greatly.
Appreciate you. Thank you for what you're doing, Nicole. You've made a big influence on my life, and I've never even met you in person.
Yeah, we've only gotten to meet this way. So, yeah, a couple of times even just through the computer. So I'm grateful for that as well. And thank you, listener, for joining us today. If you enjoyed this episode, I hope that you'll share it with somebody who could use some encouragement. You can subscribe, leave a review, come back next time for another conversation about what kindness looks like in real life. And until then, remember, what you look for is what you'll see.